Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the BEST. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the BEST, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's best standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go. I see you. And let's dive into today's best standard. Hey everyone. My name is Sarah McCarthy and I'm so excited that you are joining me as we break down the following standard. Today's standard is MA.5.GR.4.2 and this standard says to represent mathematical and real-world problems by plotting points in the first quadrant of the coordinate plane and interpreting coordinate values of points in the context of the situation. Basically, we're bumping up our knowledge and understanding of coordinate planes and throwing it into real-world context, okay? Here's an example right here. It says for Kevin's science fair project, he is growing plants with different soils. He plotted the point 5, 7 for one of his plants to indicate, to show that the plant grew 7 inches by the end of week 5. So in this example, the inches would represent the y value. So our y vertical axis would be represented by the inches and the week 5, so weeks, would be represented by the x-axis right there. By the way, this document that I've marked up all over is not something that I create. This is something that the Florida Department of Education releases to the public. And in these episodes, I'm just showing you how I use what they provide to break down the standards, to understand them in order to create the resources that are strategically aligned to the best standards in your Taking on the BEST membership. So we'll spend half of the video breaking down the standard and the other half I'll show you everything that you have access to, okay? All right, so clarification, some benchmark clarifications. Number 1, it says that coordinate planes include axes scaled by whole numbers and that ordered pairs contain only whole numbers. So no fractions, no decimals here. We're just working on whole numbers. Now, I would say that they can be scaled counting by 1s or 2s or 5s and so on. It could be 3s and 4s if it makes sense. For the most part, in Taking on the BEST, though, it is scaled by 1s. But I would keep an open mind to say that you can scale it by a different number if you wanted to. Some related benchmarks. We have this standard right here, MA.5.AR.1.1, which is our multi-step word problem. Sorry that wasn't there. Multi-step word problems, real world problems. Okay, we also have MA.5.AR.3.2, which is patterns with inputs and outputs. So finding the inputs and outputs and then graphing them. And then MA.5.DP.1.1 is collecting and representing data. I would also say, and I should have added this in the last one, that MA.5.GR.4.1, which is our introduction to the coordinate plane, is also one that definitely connects. So intro to coordinate plane. All right. Some terms that you need to know. We've got the coordinate plane, but you only need to understand the first quadrant. In other words, the coordinate plane looks like this, really. Goes on and on forever in both directions. We've got the x-axis is our horizontal axis. The y-axis is the vertical axis. And in 5th grade, we are only working in this quadrant. This is quadrant 1 right here. And then we'll be working in the remaining quadrants in the upper grades. You need to know what the origin is. That's point 0, 0. That's where we start when we're referring to how we plot a point. We also have the x-axis. We talked about that. And the y-axis, which are your horizontal and vertical axes. Where are they coming from? In 4th grade, they plotted They ordered and they compared numbers on a number line, so we can definitely apply that here. They've also been plotting, ordering, and comparing numbers for a while, so they should definitely have that skill set. In 6th grade, GR.1.1 includes rational numbers in all 4 of the quadrants. So you can see in the next year, we're bringing out those 4 quadrants. 1.2 is about the distance between ordered pairs. So we're not doing that now, but they will in 6th grade. And then 1.3, real world problems using the coordinate plane. I'm guessing that would also be including all 4 quadrants. So the standard is a great build-up for that. This is the purpose and instructional strategies section, and it says the purpose of this benchmark is for students to interpret coordinate values plotted in mathematical and real-world contexts. So 4.1, GR.4.1 was more about the introduction to the coordinate plane, and here we're relating it to how it can connect in the real world. Okay, and it says that this, what we're doing now in 5th grade, leads to the foundational understanding needed throughout middle school. And really, students, from my experience, 5th graders really enjoy instruction with the coordinate plane. It tends to click for them pretty easily. This one might be a little bit bumped up where they have to kind of analyze and interpret what graphs might mean, but overall, from my experience, students tend to love this one. Okay, so an example might be identifying points of a rectangle plotted on the coordinate plane. So you'll see that in, I think, video lesson number 2. I'll even write that here. I think it's video lesson number 2. We'll see in a minute. Video lesson number 2, I believe, where 3 points are given of a rectangle, 3 of the vertices, and we have to find where that 4th vertex might be located. I also said that teachers should allow students the flexibility to decide which variable is represented by the x-axis and which one is represented by the y, and to explain their preference. This is if they have to, if they are collecting data, like in the example that we got. He indicated that the 7 inches was going to be labeled by his y and that the weeks were by x's. But you could do it the opposite way. You could have the 7 inches be graphed on the x-axis and the weeks be graphed on the y-axis. So students can have that flexibility to represent that, but if a problem specifically states where to put those, what each axis is referring to, then you got to go with that. Just saw something else that caught my eye too, that students should be given the flexibility to decide how to scale their graphs. So we were saying before that in taking on the best, we're usually counting by 1s, but a student could also start counting by 2s if they're trying to plot the number, the coordinate 20, 40, it might make more sense to count by 2s or by 10s or by 5s. Common misconception or errors. This says that students can confuse the x and y values in the ordered pair, which we went over in the previous lesson. So where they may have meant to plot that point 2, 4, but instead they plot and labeled 4, 2. Okay, I put here, take a look at this one because there's so much happening in this math task. First, they have to make a 2-column chart, then they have to plot the points and also label. See here, they're telling you the x coordinate needs to represent the number of hours and the y coordinate needs to represent the number of bracelets made. I love this, and I think that this is a great task. There's just a lot happening, so students definitely need to have a firm understanding of what the coordinate plane is and how to plot, label, how to create a 2-column chart, all of that. And here is an example where we've got a town and we have to plot and decide things there. And this is where we've got that missing piece of the rectangle. We're trying to figure out what this point right here might be. Okay, and here I just said that they might confuse the ordered pairs here, just like that misconception stated before. I think that's it. All right, so we've gone over the standard. We know that it's the coordinate plane in a real world or mathematical setting. So let's go ahead and see what you have access to in your membership. Okay, so here we are at the home page, mccarthymathacademy.com. You're going to click Members Enter here, select Taking on the Best on the left, scroll down to 5th grade, Which strand? We're going all the way to the geometric reasoning strand right here. Scrolling down to 4.2 ma.5.gr.4.2 coordinate plane in the real world. When you open this up, you will have 3 video lessons. This is if you are a bronze, silver, or gold member. Everybody has access to these video lessons. So you just have your students click play, and then you have the printable guide right over here where students can take down their notes. You just click there and it will populate for you. So the first one is coordinate plane of a town. We've got a town right here. The next video is completing the rectangles. So we've got 3 examples where we're completing the rectangles, finding that 4th vertex. And so we were right, video lesson number 2 was completing that rectangle. And then the third video is using coordinate planes to plot data. Now we will take a closer look at what these worksheets look like in just a second. And we can do that by going to the silver plan. So if you are a silver or a gold member, you have access to even more. You can go back to those bronze video lessons at any time. And then here are your silver resources. You've got printables, answer keys, and this math misconception mystery episode, which goes with one of the printables in there. So we have here the first video lesson that you have in your bronze resources. It's the coordinate plane of a town. It says the map below shows the location of several places in town. List the coordinates for each location. So you got to find where each one of these are and then list the coordinate, which is all explained in the video lesson. Then it says that the town is building a playground 2 blocks north and 3 blocks east from the library. So going from the library, we're going to have to follow those directions to figure out the coordinates for the future playground. And then plot and label where the gas station might go. So that's all included in that video lesson. And then after the video lesson, you might want your students to have some extra practice on their own. So here's another extra practice page that looks very similar to what we just did in the lesson, so they can use their notes that they've just taken to help them with this extra practice. Then for the video lesson number 2, it's that completing the rectangle on the coordinate plane. We've got the 3 vertices. We're trying to find where that 4th vertex is. And then extra practice so students can perform those tasks on their own. Then for the third one, it's using coordinate planes to plot data. So Marty completes 2 push-ups every hour for 5 hours. You can see the real world setting here. Now we've got the hours and then push-ups. And what we'll do is we will label the X and the Y axis, first helping Marty complete the 2-column chart. And then the hours need to be represented by the X axis and the push-ups by the Y. So we'll model in the lesson how to do that, the video lesson. And then here's another one for students to do on their own. This one, Amiko creates 3 bracelets every day. So now we have days and bracelets. Help Amiko complete the 2-column chart and then follow these instructions to plot the points. All of that supports the video lesson. So part of having the silver is that you get the extra practice pages so you can make sure that your students understand what's going on with it. Then we've got you also have access to the math missions. This one says that Piper tracks her water consumption over the span of 6 hours. She drinks 2 cups of water every hour. Make a 2-column table where the first column indicates the number of hours Piper tracks her water, and the second column shows how many cups she drinks. Then label the coordinate plane and plot the points on the coordinate plane to represent your table. The students have to decide what you want the X and the Y axis to represent. Just like that math task that we saw in the standard, students will also have to complete something very similar here. And then finally in the silver plan, you have another video lesson, the math misconception mystery video lesson. All you do is click play and I will guide your students through the entire process. First, they will solve the problem on their own, and then they will watch as 4 characters, which are really just me, dressed up in silly costumes. Those 4 characters will solve the same problem, and your students will have to really pay attention to what each character is doing because 3 of them are incorrect, making mistakes that students commonly make, and only 1 of them is correct. Then your students will fill out this detective report stating who the most reasonable answer belongs to and evaluating the work of the others. These are a lot of fun and they're great for math discussions. It's really awesome to see your students have friendly debates and really listening to the thoughts and ideas of others. It's awesome. Okay, so that is the silver. And then if you are a gold member, you have access to even more. You can go back to the bronze video lessons and student guides at any time. You can go to the silver resources, which have the extra practice, the math mission, and the math misconception mystery episode. But if you are a gold member, you also have access to a mini assessment. Okay, it just says show what you know. So if you want to use this as a mini assessment, go for it. If you just want it to be extra practice, go for it. So however you want to roll these out, just more for you that's aligned to the standard. Okay, so here we have, it's about 4 problems, similar to what we were seeing in the video lessons. We've got a multiple choice problem there, got one of the 4th vertices, and here we have where students have to read what's going on here, fill in the table, and then also plot the points. So that's a lot of fun. You also have an answer key, of course, right here. And these breaking down the best videos, these episodes are right here for you. If you're a gold member, you get the perk of having them ad-free and with everything else. Now, these breaking down the best videos for teachers are also on YouTube. Just know that they do contain ads, so it's just a nice little perk. But if you do have the gold plan, it is probably because you wanted access to McCarthy Math 155, which is a daily math intervention. It is aligned to the Common Core standards. Now just keep in mind, taking on the best is all aligned to the best standards. McCarthy Math 155 has a lot of extra videos with skills that definitely are a part of the best standards too. You just have to be careful on what you're selecting. So for this standard, if we click here, we're going to go to 5th grade. But by the way, you're probably wondering what the 155 stands for. That stands for 155 videos for each grade. So we'll click on 5th grade. And you can see we've got multiplication, division, numerical expressions, operations with decimals, operations with fractions, place value, measurement conversions, you know, lots and lots of good stuff, volume right there. But right here, Unit 11 is all about the coordinate plane. So you have 7 additional video lessons that you can send out to your students or have them watch as a whole group, however you want to do it. And here's what we've got. So we've got coordinate plane vocabulary. We've got plotting more points, describing points on a coordinate plane, traveling from one point to another. So we really don't, well, we did do a little bit of this with real world settings. So going from one point to another, what are we doing? So you do have a little bit there. Okay, 7 extra videos if you're a gold member. So that is awesome. Okay, I think that's it. So I hope that this episode helped the standard to click for you, that it makes sense, that you understand what is expected of the students for the standard, and then what you have access to with your taking on the best membership. Before we go, let me remind you that what you choose to do with your life every day, it really does matter. Thank you so much for showing up for your students every day, for showcasing what your best looks like. That way your students can be inspired to step into the best version of themselves too. And with that, I'm gonna let you go and I will see you next time, all right? Bye. Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now. Bye.